I only read one book, but it's a good book, don't you know? I act the way I act because the good book tells me so. If I want to know how to be good, it's to the good book that I go. Because the good book is a book, and it is good, and it's a book.
In the beginning, which was the type of beginning that so desperately calls for a prequel, God, whose origins and motivations are not explained, created the heaven and the earth. Presumably because at that time he was both homeless and, in a literal sense, biblically bored. And the earth was without form and void, neither flat, spherical, or shaped like a turnip. And darkness was upon the face of the deep, which did have form in the form of a deep void being filled with water. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters, which must have been there already, because nobody said anything about God creating any water, just heaven and earth. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light, which meant that God could see the form of the thing he was making, and why he stood up to his ears in water. And God saw the light, that it was good. However, it didn't occur to him that it was somehow missing a source. And God divided the light from the darkness, presumably by putting the light somewhere. However, as the universe only contains the heaven and the earth, it does not leave many viable alternatives. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night, and the evening and the morning were the first day, which were a mix of both. And I suppose it would occur to God later that the new thing with all the darkness called night should have gone somewhere in the middle. And God said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters," which was defined in the Old English that was used to translate the original text to create the super-accurate King James Version of the Bible as a rigid structure, a fixed support, a vaulted sky, that space probes would one day bounce off and let it divide the waters from the waters. And as just speaking things into existence, as God had done up to now, was getting a little tiresome, God made the firmament himself, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. Well, as long as it wasn't examined in a modern scientific way. And God called the firmament that he had put between the waters heaven, which I suppose should not be confused with the heaven that God created right at the beginning, yesterday. And the evening and the morning were the second day, and would have benefited greatly had night been somewhere in the middle. And God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And because actually doing stuff like creating firmaments rather than just saying stuff was tiring, it was so, though it doesn't answer the question of where the land came from, as presumably it was under all that deep water without form and void all along. And God called the dry land earth, presumably not to be confused with the earth that God created right at the beginning 2 days ago, and the gathering together of the waters called the seas. And God saw that it was good, but later considered that putting all the water in just one place was a bit dull, so he presumably widened his vocabulary to include lakes, ponds, and puddles. And God said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, because the whole place looks like a big ball of mud." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after its kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And God saw that it was good, especially the herb, which probably explains why God had decided grass, herbs, and trees would be male, and that they would produce seeds. Man, that sounds like good herb. And the evening and the morning were the third day, still missing the night in the middle. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Not because one being light and the other being dark were not obvious enough, because when he was examining how good the herb was, it occurred to him that the light has to come from somewhere. And let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years. Man, that herb was good. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven, to give light upon the earth, because a disembodied big bright glow was bringing his buzz down. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. And if positioned just in the right place, nobody would ever notice that the lesser light was actually just reflecting light rather than shining itself. He made the stars also, presumably because he had the munchies and hadn't created all-night petrol stations. And God sent them in the firmament of the heaven, to give a reason why the light that he created on the first day was there, and to rule over the day and over the night, which was supposed to be dark, and to divide the light from the darkness, presumably by shining all the time, so it wasn't dark. And God saw that it was good, even if none of it made any sense whatsoever. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day, and he would get around to putting the night in the middle later on. And God said, Let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth in the open firmament of heaven. And non-moving stuff like coral and fowl like ostriches would get done later. And God created great whales, which were constructed in such a way as to fuck with evolutionists who would insist that they evolved back into sea-dwelling creatures from ancient land-born mammals, and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good, except chickens and penguins, which might have looked the part, but because they didn't have long enough wings, couldn't fly. Well, at least the penguins could swim underwater and catch fish. And God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth, except the chicken, which, unlike the penguins, were crap at swimming too. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And God said, Bugger, when he realized he had once again forgotten to put night in the middle. And God said, Let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and beasts of the earth after his kind, including all sorts of dinosaurs with big claws and sharp teeth, polar bears which live out on pack ice out at sea, and unicorns that can do magic. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind, but especially cattle. And God saw that it was good, because he liked cows. And God said, Let us make man in our own image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And God realized that he needed more herb, because he had started to talk to himself in the third person. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them, unaware that in years to come this would not be how the story was remembered, and the females got really pissed off with being referred to as him rather than her, and did refuse to shut the fuck up and go into the kitchen and make sandwiches. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And the more astute amongst them did ask God if there was a bit of the story that he was missing out. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree-yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And they did mumble amongst themselves, and though none of them could argue with God's perfect plan, they did agree that it had something to do with a fruit tree. and to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life. I have given every green herb for meat. And the lion did back away from the gazelle, and looked at the velociraptor and tyrannosaurus, and they all did ponder together why they have been given big claws and sharp teeth, while the spider did wonder what the bloody hell it was supposed to catch with the web that it had spent all morning spinning. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning, still without the night in the middle, were the 6th day. And from yonder the people and all the animals did hear God shout, "Bollocks! I forgot the fucking apple tree."